All right, welcome back. I'm your host, Rowan Cook. I make coffee on the internet.
And I'm Ben Bicknell. I judge people who make coffee, but only at competitions.
And together we are It's Just Coffee, the podcast for people who know it's never just coffee.
True. Well, we are here, World of Coffee Dubai, doing another excellent episode. And we are super lucky to have joining us on this episode none other than Benjamin Putt from Canada, Monogram. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Thanks for joining us. It's so great to be joining on the other side of the world, and you're not competing. I don't know how to wrestle with this situation.
I don't know what to do with myself. You know, I'm sleeping. I'm not stressed. It's a very weird feeling.
You're glowing.
Yeah,
you look
right?
really
I'm
healthy.
radiant.
Like an orange backdrop here. Did you ever just think you'll just like sneak up backstage and just like randomly jump on and do a set?
Well, I am coaching someone here, so I've always got a toe in.
Yeah.
I always do.
You're feeling good.
Now, start of the year, we thought we'd just start off the pod with a super simple question of, do you have any coffee predictions for 2026?
I think what I've seen is I think there's a continued focus on like kind of cig drink type stuff. I think beverage development is going to continue. I think our industry is still not great at it. We make vanilla lattes and things like that. But if you look at like cocktail bars and stuff like that, I think that's going to bleed into cafes more and more. And I think that our industry could be really cool, but we have a ton to learn to make drinks at the caliber I think that we will need to make to stay competitive with larger chains that are starting to do the drinks that were sort of the bread and butter of cafes before. Because even like Starbucks now has like a lot of drinks that are kind of cig drinky.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to do that. So then we have to do the next level.
But I do find it kind of confusing because I feel like the worlds have blended with it, right? Because, I mean, Starbucks and a lot of these companies often had these kind of blended or mixed drinks. And I feel like the idea and specialty of this signature drink and that Starbucks drinks are kind of getting confused. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like we have so much opportunity to make amazing signature drinks that really highlight the coffee that we're going to be using. I just don't know if we're doing it very well yet.
That's why this year.
This is the year?
Yeah,
it's
still early. We got 11 months. It can happen.
Yeah, we got it. We got it ahead of us.
Yeah.
So Ben, as we noted, you've been competing for, is it a decade?
I started competing in 2010.
Yep.
The thing I tell people, I was competing when you still got a score for the quality of your crema.
I know. I was judging.
Impossible.
When that happened. Yes. And so, you have placed highly multiple times, 3 times in the top 3, right?
Yeah, and I finaled 5 times.
Incredible. At the World Barista Championships. It's just an incredible record. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you won? Like, do you come back again the next year because it's just what you do?
I think you win, you call out all the people that have ever wronged you and burn the place to the ground.
Oh my God, you need to win.
I knew it.
This is amazing.
I was actually saw Jack here, and Jack and I were talking about it, and he didn't really know what to do when he won because suddenly no one really has ever gone back after competing. They do other stuff, and so I've competed for 15 years on and off, and I think it would be this weird void where I actually have no idea what I do other than sell out. Than sell out.
But I mean, Jack did the same thing as you. He was just burning bridges. I mean, he said some terrible things about you.
We had a scuffle.
Yeah.
Shocking.
He's so strong though that you can't really.
He's a beefcake
Yeah,
now.
I know.
He is, and he's even bigger than when he was like competing. He's like so muscly.
I think if he had spent more time at the espresso machine and less time at the gym, he would have won a very long time ago.
Wouldn't have taken him 3 years.
I have no muscles. How do you think?
You're really focusing
I'm
in.
very focused.
It is an interesting thing. I was actually asking this the other day. I was like, has there ever been a returning champion?
There is one that I know of in Brewers.
Okay.
Odd Steiner.
Yeah.
He won. He came back and he finaled. He came back and then he missed finals at Worlds and then he came back and then didn't win to the Nationals.
Yeah.
But I actually have a profound amount of respect for him because he just loves coffee. He just went back and went back and went back.
I was going to say, it's kind of cool. Like, is it kind of just like a gentlemanly thing that'd be like, well, I've won it, now I'll step down? Or is it just that it takes so much out of your life that people are like, oh my God, never again?
I think that is that. And there's also, I think especially at Barista, you have to have good coffee. You have to have an incredible set. All the stars have to align. And so I think there's this realization. Here's here's something a lot of people don't think about. There has only ever been one World Barista champion that has won every round of the WBC. And that shows you that it's an on-the-day thing that you can go back and just lose. And that person's Michael Phillips. That's the only person where it's like, that's the winner. That's the person that won. We got the right person every single day.
2010, right?
Yeah.
So that was your first WPC?
That was my first year competing. I didn't make WC that. But so I think that's part of the reason you don't go back is you just know, how lucky you were. Like, I even feel that way when I final. Like, I got lucky. There's some proportion. You're prepared, but there's that bit of luck. Yep. And I think that's part of why they don't go back. And also, they have invites for, I don't know, anywhere they want to go.
Yeah. At the WBC, there's all the baristas are kind of spruiking the producers in these really like high-end coffees and kind of representing those. Do you think in the real world, though, in like the roasteries and the cafes, are we representing coffee in the right way? Is it translating down out of the competition?
I think yes. Obviously, some of these coffees don't always make it, but almost every coffee we've competed with, you can buy at our shop. We try. I also think it's on the shops to make them approachable. Like, I tell lots of people this, the best value coffee you can buy is often the most expensive one because the roaster had to have like no margin on it to sell it. And so we are trying to make these coffees still accessible. And I do think that globally, if you look at other luxury products, coffee is still not that expensive. I can't say it's not expensive at all because like there are people out there, if you're on a barista wage or something like that, they can be expensive products. But I think ultimately we're still representing the coffee accurately. And also if you go back and watch old WBC presentations, and I've done some of them, they have a lot less info. Like you learn a lot watching WBC now. And so I think we often lose sight of the fact that we are representing coffee way more than we did in the past because it was more about like tamping and your whipped cream canister and things like that. Now we are actually talking about producers. Maybe we still have a ways to go, but we are talking about producers more than we used to.
I guess the question though is more like there's all of these, like everyone on stage has potentially a day job or depends how much you're training, but you work with a company or a roastery or, maybe it's an equipment manufacturer, whatever it is, but it's kind of interesting whether there's like a bit of a dissonance between I care about all this stuff, but then on my day job, the companies that I'm working with are not maybe living out in the same way. And so I think it sounds like that's what you're doing at Monogram is that you definitely are kind of like making sure that aligns, but you're the owner and the competitor. So it kind of makes sense. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Do you feel like there's ever a disconnect there?
I think that to do well in the comp, it takes so long that I think you could have someone come in with sort of false emotions, but I would take them, my hope would be it takes them long enough to win that they get won over by specialty again. Because I think the story is really beautiful. So theoretically, you could have that person. Sure. I just haven't seen that person. Okay. For when people are successful, I think they are genuine. Obviously, as a judge, you can't score if you think they're false or not. Yeah. But after a certain amount of time in the industry, if it didn't win you over, there's more money in other industries and you're probably going to head in that direction.
Oh, and to be clear, I'm not calling out any of the competitors. I think the competitors who stand up on stage are all very genuine. It's so hard to step up into that high-stress environment, speak genuinely about it, and succeed if you don't really believe in it. Yeah. It's more about what's happening with the business enterprises behind them that is of interest to me. But maybe we don't need to dig too deep into that one.
I also wanted to ask a question about, so you own Monogram, amazing cafe in Canada, roastery. With the expensive coffees, one thing that I think is a cool idea when people worry about the cost of it, but I worry it might be a bit of a cheapskate thing to do. As an owner, can you tell me if it is or not? Let's say you got a like really expensive coffee. For me, a really expensive coffee isn't about having the full 250 ml of that drink. Yeah. I'd be happy to go in there with 4 friends and be like, let's get the $60 coffee and just split it 4 ways. Because all I need is, 50 to 100 ml of it to like enjoy it. But is that would you be like, come on, guys?
No, I love that.
Okay.
Because I think, because you have a certain minimum dose that you have to run.
Yeah.
And so I think that's super cool. We're experimenting with trying to run really small doses for espresso as well. So something I've done on stage is something called multi-tamping, where you tamp the coffee multiple times and it actually closes up channels so you can run a smaller dose. So this year, the next big project I have to work on is seeing if we can get our doses down to for expensive coffees, like 12, 13 grams.
Oh,
because then suddenly You can get a banger espresso for not much money.
So wait, so you're talking single dose, and just to be clear, so the idea is you're looking at multiple tamps to reduce the chance of channeling so that you can use those lower doses.
So an easy way, the way we tested this is we had a device that would measure the depth of the basket. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you tamp once, you measure the depth from the top of the basket to the bottom to the top of the puck. You continue to tamp it, and you'll actually see the puck compress, which means that there were air pockets that are now full and they've been filled up. And so actually on a single tamp, you actually have more channels than you think you do.
Oh, I mean, that's different from what I've heard on like a bit of things. That's the best thing about coffee, right? And it's changing. Yeah, run the test. That's sick.
Even if you look at a multi-tamped puck at the end of pulling it, it looks like a kind of like a lever machine. It's completely flat. There's no holes around the side. So even visually, you can see that there's
really
channels.
Shallow basket?
Yep.
Yeah.
But you can do it in a big basket too. I do it at WBC. I didn't run tiny doses, but at my nationals, we ran 15s.
Wow.
And so those are pretty small.
I like it. I like it. It's definitely moves away from the throw more coffee in, kind of go crazy with doses. So
yeah, and it keeps some of the body. I think when people at comp run small doses, they're worried that it's gonna be watery. But if you don't have channels, you still have good texture.
So, like, I mean, this kind of leads in great that at the WBC, you're pretty kind of renowned for bringing some different innovations, techniques, or ideas to the stage. What are kind of some of the most exciting innovations that you've seen in the competition space, and which ones have kind of seemed like they were a good idea but maybe flopped?
Yeah, I think one thing that we don't actually realize, I think very often, and this, I don't think we can give him all the credit, but I often think about when I look at WBCs, I'm like, what are the two paths that could have gone? So like, there's usually first and second are close, and they each have a different message. If you look at 2015, the year Sasa won, he brought an innovative process. He talked about anaerobic processing, and I often wonder if Sasa hadn't won, like where would we be? And so we often think about innovation as equipment and things that happen on stage. But I think that one is one of the biggest ones because it completely changed our focus on processing. People around the world started doing anaerobics and carbonic macerations and things like that. And the Charles who got second, he had a washed Ethiopian. Yeah. And so to me, that's the biggest one. It's like there's a different universe out there where Charles Babinski won, and we're all just drinking washed coffees, and just chilling.
Yeah, Sasha is the Gwyneth Paltrow of the sliding doors moment here. Did Sash get on the train or not?
Yeah, exactly. But we often forget about that one. We assume these anaerobic coffees, they've been around for so long, it's kind of out of our heads. But I do think that Sasa completely moved the needle when it comes to that.
So anaerobic processing as a conversation and kind of something that flowed on. Any other innovations that?
I think you gotta give credit to another Australian, Matt Perger, putting an EK on stage. And I've talked to a lot of people about this, that it's not the fact that he came up with it, it's that he made it work on stage. So lots of people can have the same idea at Worlds. Actually, a friend of mine actually told me recently that a year before I did freeze distilled milk on stage, someone did it in Central America. Yeah. But they did a bad job or not a good job of it. So they never progressed. And so to me, what Matt did wasn't just that he had this innovation, is that he made it work on stage, because you have to show proof of concept. And so you think about single dosing, again, it's everywhere now, but there was one person brave enough to grab it, figure out how to make it work, and then just crush it.
Yeah. There's always idea and execution, right?
Exactly. You can have all the ideas in the world, but if it doesn't taste good, you're going to be an afterthought.
Yeah. And I think you kind of touch on it there, is like, you didn't mention it, but freeze distilled milk. That was kind of really an innovation that you came up with, yeah?
Yeah, that was a good one.
You can kind of say it. We'll say it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, literally during this trip at World of Coffee, the amount of like freeze distilled or cryo desiccated or whatever kind of concentrated milk kind of beverage, and that's evolved over the past few years. On the comp stage, like what I'm drinking, the way people are approaching that is so different each year.
Yeah. And even it's starting. There are a couple companies now that the company makes freeze distilled milk. Oh, like I'd never. Yeah, there's like one packaged. There's one in Asia somewhere, and there's one in Switzerland where you buy freeze distilled milk, which I never thought. Yeah, I should have patented it or trademarked
like,
it.
Where's my money going? Oh my god.
Yeah.
What about the other side where it's like, was there a year where there's something that happened that you're like, oh, this is changing the game, but then maybe a year or two later we've just forgotten about it completely?
Something that I see start and stop all the time on the comp stage and in coffee, and I want them to be able to figure it out, is cascara.
Yeah.
It's used in sig drinks a lot because people think it's going to bring you to the farm. It doesn't really taste like coffee. It's a coffee product, but it's kind of like tea, so it never finds a market. So I always see this like start and stop with cascara, where it's like it's hot for a moment and then it's cold for a moment, and so for me, I would love to see that sorted out. But in my opinion, no one's really done a great job with it yet.
Today's episode is sponsored by our friends over at Marco Beverage Systems.
I tell you what, baristas are the unsung heroes. They get absolutely slammed every single day.
It's true. They do. They get hammered. And you know what? Like, we've just accepted that standing there steaming jug after jug after jug of milk is just kind of part of the deal.
Marco is trying to remove some of that daily slog from the cafe for baristas.
They are. They have designed the Milk Pal.
The Milk Pal!
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. At the push of a button, you can get hot milk, hot foam, cold foam.
Oh, that's sick. So you can just pour it straight out.
Yeah, you choose the exact texture you want and the volume you need, and away you go.
Oh, that's perfect. It also does it, though, with alternative milk and dairy, whatever you're using. And the best part is, as you said, no waste. You're not tipping milk down the drain and just wasting money.
Never a good thing.
And it gives baristas the time to do the things that they actually want to do, not just stuck behind a steam wand.
So if it sounds like a good fit for your business, go check out marcobeveragesystems.com, learn a little bit more about it, maybe find your new Milk Pal. I'm trying to think if there's any innovations that people really went through a trend of doing and then that's just kind of fallen off. But I mean, there's definitely trends at the moment of like chilling espresso shots, or certainly temperature of drinking for milk and espresso is
huge
kind
now.
of really.
Have you seen
really
those, like,
shifted
even
a
the
lot.
iced lattes now? Have you seen those, like, deep freeze cups?
Dirty coffee. So
Yeah. Where it's like, there's no ice or whatever. It's just in a cup that's at like negative whatever.
Yep.
Some crazy temp. Looking at the innovations, I guess part of the whole reason the World Barista Championships exists is to bring innovation out and how it's going to work in the world. So as we spoke about your business Monogram, how have some of the innovations that have come from WBC been integrated into Monogram?
Yeah. So there's a easy one is roasting. So everything we learned about roasting goes back to the comp. We do not roast any different for our shops than we do for the stage, like in terms of roast level, what we're trying to achieve. Something that we did early on is we really want people to try the coffee. So we have a freezer program in every shop where we run single dose espressos, pour overs, things like that. So you can go into a Monogram right now, drink a Finca Deborah espresso, so we're really trying to bring those things. And then on top of that, since the beginning, we've actually done signature drink style stuff. So thankfully I don't have to do this anymore, but every 3 months we have a completely new lineup of sig drinks. So we have a team that's constantly building new sig drinks. The reason they don't let me do anymore, I don't have a TikTok account, and I feel like TikTok is where all the drink trends are. So they're I would say the quality of coffee we have and the sig drinks that we have is totally comp inspired for sure.
Start a TikTok because I would follow you and watch you every day.
You've got 2 followers, right?
I'm too old for
You're not.
TikTok.
No.
What are you talking
I'm
about?
a zillion years old.
No, you're not. You're young and beautiful, and don't you
Thank
forget it.
Thank you.
But wait, I just want to quickly ask, signature drinks.
Yeah.
Over the years, hit us with the one that just jumps to mind as your favorite. And can you give us a little rundown? Is it like possible that the listeners could try to make it themselves?
So yeah, my favorite signature drink ever was in Korea. So there was a trend. This is a trend that's died, where people would make multiple signature drinks. They would have 2 versions of it. I won nationals, and the head judge, Mike Strumpf's like, you got to get rid of the 2-drink thing. It's hard for judges to evaluate. So I was kind of stubborn. I'm like, I'm going to put it into 1 cup. So I made a sig drink where I pulled half my shots, mixed the sig drink ingredients, and then froze it with liquid nitrogen in the bottom. So there's like an ice cube of sig drink, and then put a hot one on top. So they took 1 sip of hot and then swirled it until it melted and got cold. And it was the same ingredients but different versions of it. So I had white rose and red rose. I had different cooked fruits in different ways. And it was just a really cool experience. I didn't measure the liquid nitrogen, so when I got to finals, I pretty much froze one of the judges. Daiichi could barely thaw his cup. So, you should measure things when you're at WC. Don't just,
Good lesson.
don't just run and gun.
Yeah.
But that one was really cool because it was such a different experience in the cup. And it was just delicious.
Yeah. It's really cool. I mean, it's great to hear that all of this being integrated back into the cafes and into the business. Competing takes a lot of work, and is competing a very personal thing for why you want to do it, or is it actually part of the business strategy? And I guess the advice there for if there is a business owner or a barista who wants to compete, how do you kind of balance that personal journey but the business relevance?
I think that there's so many advantages to comp. So one is personal, but applies to the business too. You will learn so much in competition. Like, I've competed for 15 years. I am still getting better as a barista because of competition. And so that immediately applies to the business. And we view that as owners. Like, we have a bunch of people competing this year. We know they will all learn a lot. And so it's an easy way to get people to learn. I do think that it's good for the business. As long as there's a slow news day, reporters love coffee stories. Like, as long as nothing horrible happened, you will get a news story. And I also think it just keeps you engaged. Like, there's so much happening in comp. If you want to keep your staff and yourself engaged, it's such a good way to do it. Yeah. It forces you to improve yourself. So I think there's a business case behind it. I think there's an educational piece behind it. And then honestly, I would not be here if I didn't compete. And I don't your involvement in comps as well. We would not be. And I know I'm in a very privileged position. There aren't many baristas that have competed at Worlds as much as I do. I know I'm in a privileged position.
There's been any who's competed as much as you.
But what's the numbers on that?
There was one, Soren from Denmark has competed more than I have. And I think he either has one more national title than I do, or we're tied. Yeah. But even if you don't win, if you don't go to Worlds, there's still so much to gain from it, of course. And I do think Monogram was partly built from our competition wins.
Yeah.
Soren, if you're listening, you think you can compete more than our boy Ben? How dare
Soren
you?
knows jiu-jitsu. Be very careful.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm good at slapping like this.
He'll post an Instagram story. He's like, I swam 10 miles and I'm going for a jog.
Okay,
so
I'm definitely Soren, oh my God. Soren, we need to get you on the pod. We love you so much. You're beautiful. And let's move on to the next question.
Well, before we move on to the next question, I think it's an interesting idea though of someone competes from a business, then how you extract is maybe a little bit of a rough...
no, I like it.
No, it's a bit of a rough term though. How do you get that value back out into the business? So I imagine a lot of your learnings, even as a barista or roasting, you then have to kind of document that almost and be able to pass that learning on. Because otherwise key. It just sits with the one person.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that there's info sessions afterwards, or... I also just listen to your baristas, talk to them and say what do you want to what you want to do here. We still have a ways to go, but we're trying to take our hands off the reins a bit more and be what do you want to do in the shops, or what do you want to put on Porver? What brewing devices do you want? And so sometimes I think we send someone and then they still don't have as much voice as they need. If you're sending someone to comps, they see stuff and they could give you some really great advice on where the shop maybe should be heading.
That's cool.
I don't know if this is a rude question,
I can't wait.
But I'm just, we'll ask it anyway. How much does it cost to compete?
Yeah, that is a very good question. It can take...
I want exact figures.
I don't have... So I'll give you some examples, though. So the first year I went to WBC and finaled, this was Seattle, I think they gave us 1,500 Canadian. So that's $1 in US. No. And we were just starting as a business. So we drove down. We slept in Airbnbs. I don't know how this happened. There's the other two owners with me. I was the competitor. I slept in a closet on some of them. I don't know why. We had 2 kilos of coffee. That was, we paid less than $50 for the whole 2 kilos. We used a natural Costa Rican. And so that year, because we got to drive, it was not very much. And I think it is way harder to compete if you're on a very tight budget, but it's possible. So again, this year I went to Worlds. I had 5 kilos of coffee.
Yeah.
And so people zoom in on the coffee and say that these coffees are so expensive. But even if you bought a really expensive coffee, let's say I have 5 kilos at $200 a kilo, that will buy you almost any Panama Geisha. that's $1,000. Your flight, far more.
Yeah.
And so comp is very expensive, but I think a few things, we often focus on the things that aren't as expensive. And we also like, it is a world competition. It's gonna cost money. You're trying to get a world title that there's been 25 world barista champions in history, like 25 out of 8 billion. It's gonna cost money. Like if you compare it to other competitions, other world competitions, like culinary competitions or things like that, it's pretty cheap.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a quick word from one of our sponsors, Apax Lab. Elevate your coffee experience with Apax Lab Mineral Concentrates. Apax Lab's precision-engineered formulas, including tonic, jam, and lilac, are designed to enhance the coffee's natural flavors. Not going to change it, it's just going to enhance it. It's going to bring out the vibrant acidity, the rich sweetness, or if you use lilac, it might bring out those delicate floral notes that you've been looking for. Trusted by world-class cafes and even barista champions, Apax Lab helps you unlock your coffee's full potential. Discover more at apaxlab.com. Wait, where was that again, Sonam?
The internet.
Oh, okay. Thought he was going to say the website. Thanks.
We put so much effort into our espresso, dosing, distributing, tamping, weighing, but then in so many cases, a cafe will just take whatever milk they happen to have available and throw it in and call it a day.
I know, and milk actually makes up 70% of all coffees ordered. So you could argue that great milk is just as important as great coffee.
Definitely could argue that.
Oh, I couldn't, I did.
Our great sponsors of the podcast, Riverina Fresh, have a milk that is made for coffee specifically, and it's used by some of the best cafes around the country and, in fact, World Barista Champion.
Yeah, this gold range that they actually have here was designed alongside a World Barista Champion to be richer and more indulgent to pair perfectly with coffee.
If you want to check it out, they are doing a sweet deal for Australian-based cafes, and you can get a free trial.
That's exactly right. You can get a free trial straight to your door. Just head to riverinafresh.com.au and see if your cafe is eligible. And why wouldn't you? Serve up the same milk as World Barista Champions.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you pay for all your flights and accom when you go over and go.
Yeah.
So I guess we turn the question around.
It's equally as expensive for judges to not compete.
To be a judge, is it a personal thing or is it a business move? Ben, go on.
That is a great question. Look, I think it's a mix of both. Well, I think that the judges who have longevity, it's a mix of both, where they have the passion and the interest in the community and in the process and in the judging and supporting. But you also need to make it like valuable to either the business you work for or for yourself personally. Because if like, I don't know, if I was looking at like Host Milan, flew over there, you fly to the other side of the world, volunteer your time, pay for flights, accommodation, meals, and time out. I mean, it would have been, I don't know, 5,000 Australian easy, for that time.
Wow.
And the swag bag is worth it though, right?
Yeah.
Your presence on stage,
Oh, okay,
Ben,
there we go.
I mean,
it's stupid on my behalf that I was shocked to find out that you had to cover every single expense in that journey for working and donating your time and then also donating your own bank account to do it.
I think if long term it needs to get sorted. I don't know what the answer is, but I do think it is a skill, just like a competitor, is a skill that not many people have the skill set that Ben has. There's massive amounts of value behind it. It needs to get sorted out in the long term. I don't know if it's there's a travel sponsor and it covers everything. Like maybe it doesn't necessarily have to come from the organizing event, but maybe Coca-Cola is the travel sponsor or United or someone's the travel sponsor. Yeah. And then it's suddenly like, okay, you have to pay for your food, but there's a plane that's going to be taking you.
Look, it's a difficult thing. Like, I mean, we all kind of thought, it'd be great to have that support for sure. And there's challenges to it. And it does gatekeep it for a lot of people who would be great judges to have up there and build the community because they can't afford that, right? The other side, there was like 100 judges this year, I think, at the WBC. Yeah. It's like, what's the budget you'd have to come up with? Like $5,000? Maybe that's not the average, but whatever. But I think, again, kind of like you're saying about your business and Monogram integrating the competition experience in and getting the value, it's the same for judges, is that we get this incredible opportunity to connect, to listen and taste. And when we come back, we can kind of start integrating that into our own businesses or our own expertise. So there is value, but it's Anyone who wants to sponsor me for future competitions, please come on down.
Elon, if you're listening.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Oh
Anyone
my God.
else?
Elon, if you're listening, I've got a few things to say.
Yeah. All right. So we've asked how much of the competition costing there, but let's kind of focus back on Monogram a little bit.
Yeah, let's.
So just give us a quickly paint us a picture. You've got multiple cafe venues and a roastery.
Yes. So we have 4 cafes and then a roastery.
Okay. And so how long has Monogram been going now?
We had our 10-year anniversary last year.
Oh,
So we started in 2014. Oh, no. Okay, no, we would have been at like 11, I guess. We started 2014. We opened our first cafe in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
That would have been so good if you celebrated your 10th birthday. It's the wrong year.
You're like,
getting your
happy
kid's
birthday.
birthday
Where
wrong
is
or
everyone? So over that time, we've got a lot of people who are listening who are either cafe owners or hoping to be cafe owners in the future. What's some of the top learnings you've had that some advice you might give to some of those folks?
This one's really hard because when you first start, you don't have much money. But I remember when we first started, we tried to save money everywhere. And sometimes I totally am glad we did it. And sometimes we, like I remember Jeremy, rather than mail a letter, sometimes he would like drive like an hour to go. And it's just like, I get it. Like you might not have money, but sometimes like it's worth paying for something to get it done properly. We actually one of the cafes we opened, we decided we would grind the floors because the build was expensive. We thought,
concrete
we're
floor.
going to grind the concrete. So we start grinding and there's dust everywhere. And this is in like a high rise building. And then the general contractor comes in and he's like, what the heck are you guys doing? You put dust inside the entire building. It got pulled into he's like, it might have got pulled into the HVAC. And so we had this moment where like, we just put dust on 30 floors of a building. Thankfully, for whatever reason, it wasn't running. So we put dust inside a dentist office and we paid to get it cleaned. They were very kind. But there's these times where we tried to save money where it just like, in retrospect, it's like, it would have saved us time. We could have moved faster. Also, like if you have longevity in your cafe, if you do something right once, then you're not going to have to fix it later. And so it's hard. I know it's hard when you don't have much money, but really be willing to spend if it's going to save you time in the long run.
But I agree. I think some of that comes down to belief in yourself as well and your commitment to your business and if you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And if you believe in yourself and you're going to push it, then spend that money because like you said, it's going to be worth it. I feel like it's always like, if you're not going to spend the money,
you got that
it's
one
like,
toe in, one toe out.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you've got 3 owners at Monogram, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any advice for people who are going into partnerships?
Yes. So if there's 3, the best thing about us is we have the same level of friendship. So when I've heard, I think Maxwell says don't have partners.
That was the bring up. I was going to. His hot take when we spoke was if you have more than 3 owners,
or 3 or more,
call me in a year and tell me when you've shut down.
Yeah. So we're at 11 years.
11 years.
So here's why it's worked. When it's 3, it doesn't work. Usually it's a couple, right? And the thing is, because we're all equal friends, I know that when we finish a meeting, the meeting's over. Like Justin and Jeremy aren't talking to each other later on. And so like, you can't guarantee this, but make sure you have an equal amount of friendship. Where it's been really good is when we vote on stuff, it's never a tie, right? There's always a third vote to break it. It's never the same 2 people voting, like in one way or the other. And so that's, I think, maintained a lot of friendships. Because honestly, if you have 2 owners, for sure one of them has more power than the other. It usually comes down, someone has more money. There's no way. Yep. And so like, unless you have just one, which I think one's really hard because you've no one to commiserate with, you've no one to feel that pain. And so I think, to respectfully disagree with Maxwell, if you can find a great 3 where none of them are married to each other, you're golden. You're golden.
That's cool. I like that idea of keep everything at the meeting too.
Oh yeah.
Like, once the meeting's done.
I think that's what gets you. If you think that the other 2 are gonna talk later, then don't get into them.
Now, Ben, I've got some great news for you. I was actually speaking before the pod.
Oh, really?
And Ben was telling me that he's got a hot take.
He's got a hot take?
so spicy that he's going to get kicked out of the coffee industry.
I don't think it's not
not
full
allowed.
spice. This isn't a
Oh,
five
you're
alarms.
gonna pull it out?
We're
You're gonna pull back now?
This isn't like a ghost pepper. It's like a habanero. Maybe.
Oh, it's a habanero. We're going to habanero
It's an
take.
acceptable habanero take.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mr. Benjamin Put, what is your hot take?
My hot take is washed coffees do not need saving.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's a
Please
trend,
explain.
right? It's been a trend for a few years where people are competitors, whether brewers or baristas, are like, I'm going to go with a washed coffee because everything's infused and natural. And it's like, lots of people are competing with washed coffees. Washed coffees have won a lot of competitions. You are not saving processing method. It is fine without you.
Yeah, it is the bubble syndrome that we have, right? Of like, you walk around a show like this and everyone wants to give you, here's the big anaerobic kind of process. And so you think, oh, well, everyone's only doing big anaerobic processes.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is a bubble.
And judges like washed coffees. Like, you're not.
We like all great
Yeah.
coffees. Yeah. There's no preference one way or another.
Actually, I would say even on the other side that it's like the higher tier coffee people just want to say washed because they're like, I'm the purest.
Totally.
You suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's the I'm not the trend kind of, I'm not following everyone else.
We did have a take years ago where we were like, why is it that like all these like coffee pros will only drink washed coffees, but then when it comes to wine, they drink the sockiest, smelliest
funky.
wines.
I know.
Bomb. And it's like, where is this? Like, I mean, this is
talking
you.
to me?
Yeah, I'm talking exactly about him.
Bring on the funk.
Yeah.
You like the funky natural wines?
Well, see, funky is kind of an interesting word, right? Because I feel like when you two say it, it's purgative. And when I say it, I'm like, no, that's super exciting, right? I am definitely a fan of like the natural wine kind of sphere. But I also agree that there's a lot of like crappy natural wine out there that it tastes like isn't balanced, isn't pleasant.
And natural wine to me isn't a flavor profile. And I think people think it is a
No.
flavor profile.
No, it isn't. I mean, I think that you can kind of talk about more predominant flavor characteristics that come through, like the type of acidity that's in a lot of natural wines is different to a type of acidity in more conventional kind of wines, like sometimes, but then that's not always the case either. And, we kind of, we talk old world, new world, and I think it'll come around to these conversations with coffee as well, is like, there are places with huge history to processing wine or coffee in a very particular way. Yeah. And then like they come back to like there are new people who have taken that processing on board in a whole different region, don't have the culture. And it can be, I don't know, it can be kind of exciting, but also crazy and wild. There isn't the proven cases. Am I okay, guys?
Let's
Okay,
launch
all right?
the It's Just Wine podcast.
It's just wine.
It's just wine.
Where we
I
drink
don't know.
wine and we wine.
Yeah,
I will attend to that.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. For those that are listening in, where can they find you? Where can they find Monogram?
Monogram is in Canada. Come visit us. But
Yeah.
we also
Calgary.
have a website. You can check it out. And then I'm not on TikTok. So go to Instagram, Benjamin
I'm
Putt.
going to start a personal fan account.
Start a fake one.
of
I'll
just
pay you to run it.
Yeah. Can you send me, do you have like a spare pair of glasses
I'll
or
send
something?
you some
Like,
nudes that you can post or something.
Oh,
We'll
absolutely.
get it going.
I've already got the ones you've sent
Yeah,
me the
I know.
other day.
I don't love those ones,
So
so-
that's fine. You can find him there. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you on. For everyone else listening, you can send us in your questions at hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com. Find us on the socials at It's Just Coffee Podcast. Slide in the DMs. Ben loves it when you do.
Come on,
Um,
give us a
on.
message.
And you were telling us that, you had that hot take that was going to get you kicked out of the industry. But Ben, you were telling me just before that you had that thing that you wanted to say that thought would get you kicked out of the
thing
industry.
that I was going to
What
say,
was it?
we said it off camera, off channel.
Yeah, I know, and tell us now.
But
All right, we'll see you
Okay,
next
bye.
week, guys.
Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsors at Eco Barista. The reason I sound like this is because they got massages at our stand at Mice, and so I'm getting a massage while recording this message for you. They're the best sponsor of the pod that we could have had. They have the best eco products. This probably sounds really pornographic, but it's not. I'm just getting a massage. They have the best eco-friendly coffee products. They got coffee bags that you can design yourself. They got cups, they got iced coffee cups. They got everything you need. So make sure to support them because they support us. Head to ecobarista.com.au and get 15% off your first purchase when you sign up. Oh, mama, that's good.